But yeah, let's jump into it. Let's talk about Blue Beetle. So Blue Beetle came out last weekend at this point, but we're talking about it kind of a week later. It's the latest in the DCEU, but also James Gunn's made it pretty clear that Blue Beetle and Jamie Reyes will be translating into the DC universe. So the kind of synopsis, obviously Supes is rocking the hat and the shirt. Recent college grad Jamie Reyes returns home full of aspirations.
Whoa. Bro's not saying Jaime?
They say both in the movie.
No. It's Jaime. They make the joke about someone saying Jamie. Jaime.
Recent college grad Jaime Reyes returns home full of aspirations for his future, only to find that home is not quite as he left it. As he searches to find his purpose in the world, fate intervenes when Jaime unexpectedly finds himself in possession of an ancient relic of alien biotech, the Scarab. So yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it. Let's kick it off. Obviously with Supes here, he's head to toe in Blue Beetle merch. Let's hear what were your thoughts on Blue Beetle.
Dude, this was my most anticipated film of the year for multiple reasons. I've had the privilege of just being friends with a lot of people that worked on this movie, having it be like the first Latino ensemble cast to lead a superhero film on this level. Originally, this was going straight to streaming. Then they bumped it up and gave it a little bit more budget for a theatrical release. And after finally getting the chance to watch the movie, this past weekend, it for me delivered on everything. It's not a film that necessarily reinvents the superhero film within its structure and with what it's trying to do, but everything else is what gives it that extra sauce. It gives it an energy that is missing in a lot of superhero movies nowadays. From the family element. What separates Jaime Reyes from a ton of other superheroes is that he has his family backing him every step of the way. When Jaime gets captured, his family, even though they're just regular people, Nana's who's going to show up for her boy Jaime. So for me, the family element is what really sold this film. What really shocked me is that this film it went dark in some moments. It went darker than I thought it was going to. I don't know if are we talking spoilers or just keeping it light?
So how we normally do it is we go quickly, like just around the call, give our overall thoughts, and then we're going to say like, all right, spoilers start now, and we'll get a little deeper into the movie then.
All right, bet. So yeah, overall, I loved it. It had all of the heart in the world. Xolo Maridueña is a superstar. I'm ready to see him in a ton of other projects. All of the cast brought their A game, the family element. The practical suit and the action was fantastic. I also liked how it felt connected to a bigger DC universe. As of right now, we know this film is like loosely connected to James Gunn's DCU, and there were a couple of little things here and there that made it feel like it was a part of a bigger world, and I'm curious to see what that bigger world looks like. So I love Blue Beetle. What did you guys think?
Alex, let's kick it over to you.
I hate to be that guy because I am half Latino, but listen, hear me out. I didn't have a problem with it. I just thought it was very familiar to something I've already seen. But the thing is, like you said before, with the whole Latino stuff, added that extra pizzazz to make it a lot better. Xolo Maridueña, if you've seen Cobra Kai, future star. The whole cast, Bruna, all of them did amazing. I had no problem with that. I think my main issues, because Supes laid all the positives, I'm going to do a little bit of negatives because I'm going to be that guy. The family aspect was really strong, but I felt like it kind of detracted from Jaime's character. Like we didn't get as much as from him as we did the whole family. I think it kind of took away from him a little bit. As far as there was a little bit of tonal issues, I felt like a little, with regards to certain scenes, like for example, the suit up scene apparently was very Cronenberg inspired. You could definitely tell I like that little touch of it was a bit darker, but they were playing upbeat music in the background. So it kind of made it kind of weird. The villains very, the best villain was the I forget his name, but yes, he had a great backstory, I felt, but they wasted it in a last minute montage, which kind of really set me back because he had a whole interesting dynamic. He was taken from his family, from imperialism, and forced to be this weapon. And I was like, that's a great villain that we should have had be the forefront instead of Susan Sarandon's evil businesswoman that's just there to do basic villainy stuff. But as far as everything else, let me just not be a full negative Nancy. I thought just the main characters, George Lopez, every person in that movie, Uncle Rudy, was just so fun to watch. I thought stylistically, especially, it was definitely more colorful and bright compared to other DC projects, which I liked. I like that it was up in the air of whether or not this is a DCEU project or a new DCU, I guess maybe James Gunn's going to call it. They left it very ambiguous with certain references. If you're a Blue Beetle fan, you are going to love it. It is littered with so many references, especially I won't get into spoilers now. But overall, I felt maybe it's because maybe I'm feeling the superhero fatigue, but I felt like I watched it and I really liked the whole Latino aspect because, listen, representation is so important. Listen, I'm an Afro-Latino. So when I saw Miles on the big screen in 2018 on Into the Spider-Verse, that felt like that my thing. Because Afro-Latino, like, listen, it's not like the biggest, it's not the biggest thing. I'm mixed. So it's like when I saw that, that's my movie, I feel like. So this is going to be a lot of movies to a lot of people. It's like with Black Panther, Shang-Chi. That is so important. I'm glad that it's a good movie. It's not a horrendous movie because that would have been so bad. But overall, I felt it was very familiar. And I feel like it very much suffers from the fact that James Gunn is rebooting this whole thing. So it's very up in the air as well. That's also a double-edged sword because I don't know, like it's not putting people in seats because people don't know whether or not it's connected to the new universe. And I really wish he didn't say that he was rebooting it right this now because it kind of ruined that aspect of it. But overall, I think it's definitely worth seeing. I just think maybe I'm feeling a bit of superhero fatigue. I don't know. Maybe they're getting to me, but I thought it was good. I have it at a 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Maybe could go up on a rewatch, but I'm definitely on the more low end of everyone else. But I definitely still love it. I still liked it.
Okay, fair enough. And we're not just skipping over Seth. He hasn't seen Blue Beetle yet, so we'll kick it over to Cam.
Yeah,
I am very excited to see it. I'm very excited.
Is that tongue in cheek, sarcastic?
I didn't believe that.
I don't believe that for a second.
No, I don't know. I might see it next week. It does look kind of cool. I don't know. Probably not. Let's be honest. Bye bye.
Yeah. I'm kind of in between Alex and Matt. I'm sitting around, so I give it a 74 out of 100, a 3.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed the family aspects. One of my favorite parts, like the heart and soul this movie has, is one of my favorite parts. But like this is the first time I've gone into a DC movie and had like any sense of fun. Like Shazam tries to be lighthearted, but it's not very fun, in my opinion. Black Adam was not very fun. The Flash, I think, was close, but like it just wasn't really a great watch. And I had The Flash pretty close to this movie when I like first rated it, but I've dropped The Flash recently because I'm like, wow, that made me realize I didn't like The Flash as much as I did, or I originally did. I think the cast was awesome. Tyler and I were kind of talking about it earlier. I wasn't a huge like George Lopez fan growing up. Like I would watch it when I woke up from like at 3 a.m. that classic meme where it's like, oh my, or whatever the fucking Low Rider song is. Yeah. When I would wake up, I'd watch a little bit of it. Wasn't a huge fan. I didn't think I'd love him in this, but I thought he was hilarious. I really did enjoy his character, and he brings a lot of heart to this movie. Like you guys mentioned, family aspect's great. It's super, super basic. It's a superhero movie, and that's not something I'm upset about. Supes, I don't know if you saw it, like maybe like a couple months ago, I tweeted like, I have no superhero fatigue at all. And then it was like look at me, I'm the captain now, but I put like, look at me, I'm Supes now. I have no superhero fatigue at all. And that's probably just like the person I am. I enjoy this kind of story. It's very easy to watch. My biggest issue with it is it's just a reskinned Blue Beetle that he's fighting. And that's probably where a lot of like superhero fatigue comes, is that it's often in the first movie of a franchise or a superhero's like origin, it's often just the same character reskinned basically. So this is just like a red Blue Beetle that he's fighting. And that like, it wasn't my favorite villain of all time. They tried to give him a little bit of backstory, given that he's like ripped away from his parents, right? Or his mom dies. What happens? I forget. Whatever.
Yeah, it was almost like a Scarlet Witch type of origin where Horde Industries took him away from his mom, and then his mom died from one of their explosions.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And I love Blue. Like weirdly enough, I like Blue Beetle a lot just because I love the Young Justice show. And that's kind of where I know him from.
That show.
Yeah, he's so good in that. And that's so I was kind of hoping for a little bit of that. Jaime Reyes. I said this when we saw the trailer. I like when the Scarab is like, in this, it felt like Becky G was like an AI. I don't know. I kind of like when it feels more like an organic matter. And that's like kind of what it is, but it's a little bit of both. It's just kind of like the voice of her kind of made me feel like it was AI, and I'm just kind of over AI like in movies now, because that's the next big thing.
Yeah, I wish she had a little more personality.
Yeah, I agree.
It sounded like Jarvis. Like it just sounded like a very basic AI.
Exactly. And I don't know at all who voices him in Young Justice, but I like that like organic matter of a Blue Beetle kind of thing. It's like an alien or whatever it may be. So that's my quick thoughts. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's an easy movie to watch. It feels very much like it was going to be on HBO Max. I'll admit, like that's like Matt said, that's kind of where it was supposed to go originally. And they gave it a little bit more money and put it in theaters. Unfortunately, it's not doing so hot at the box office, but I do think people should go see it. It's a very fun and entertaining watch if that's what you're looking for. Oh, also, sorry to real quick. Fuck you people on Twitter. Not you guys, but just fuck Twitter. Again, James Gunn didn't have anything to do with this movie. It is in the DCU, but we are not going to start saying we hate James Gunn if you hate this movie or you love James. And it's going to happen again with Aquaman. Aquaman is getting shafted out the ass. They are not promoting that movie at all because they want to get it out and be done with it. That comes out at the end of this year.
That upsets me because James Wan is one of the best directors working today. And
apparently that movie stinks, and James Gunn is going to get ripped to shreds when that movie comes out if it's bad, because they're going to say James Gunn's lost it. Snyder should have taken over, whatever. It's not James Gunn. It's not him yet. He's not there. God, I understand it might be a part of the DCU, and he said that it could be, but he didn't like touch this. The production was finished before he became.
Did James Gunn text you? Did James Gunn text you this to say this? Is it
probably, but I needed to say that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that confusion comes from like him saying like Blue Beetle.
It's a part of
he's not like the movie necessarily, but like the character and Jaime Reyes and Jolo will be part of his universe going forward. So I think him saying that muddied the waters. But the Flash and Blue Beetle both kind of suffer from this in the past couple of months, where like it's like half foot in DCEU, half foot in DCU. Like, what's it going to be? I feel like the Flash suffered from it a lot more, though, because I feel like when I was watching the Flash, my mind was thinking the whole time, like, okay, how is this going to like reboot the universe? Whereas Blue Beetle, I just wanted to do it. I was like, I'm just going to enjoy this for what it is. I just found it so refreshing to finally have a young superhero who doesn't have to spend like half the movie hiding from his parents and sneaking in and out of his room and live in a lie. Because we've seen that with like superheroes like Iron Man and stuff, that they're public figures, but they're older. I feel like every time there's a young superhero, they're always spending 90% of the movie like just sneaking around, not letting anyone know that who they are. So I like the family aspect because they were there for him. They were there literally backing him up the entire way, fighting with and for him. So I think that was the strongest part of the movie. Kind of like Cam, well, opposite of Cam, because I loved the George Lopez show growing up. Like, I was like my jam on Nickelodeon at night, like watching that. But for some reason, I thought he was going to be. I wasn't excited for him in this movie because I feel like we've seen it so many times before with superhero movies where they just get some kind of, I don't want to call him Walsh, but older comedic character who may not be in their heyday anymore, and just kind of make them be like like get the butt of the joke and just, jokes, yeah, exactly. And he did kind of do that, but for some reason I like genuinely loved his character. Like I was going into this expecting to not like him, but I actually love George Lopez in this. I don't know, just something about this. Yeah,
he had an important scene at the end with like a Jaime and like
he was kind of like the guiding light in the family throughout the movie. So he was funny, but he also had
like he served a good part of the story. He wasn't just there to like quip jokes, blah, 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 blah. But he was good at it. I thought he did good. I thought it was useful.
Honestly, and that's what I loved about the family in this film, is that not only were they all great characters, but they all served like an important purpose to the plot. You know, not George Lopez's Rudy, the dad. The mom, where she gives Jaime that little pep talk at the end. Nana, the sister as well. She's like Jaime's rock in a lot of ways. So when it came to this film, I guess, Alex, to counter your point, but you know, this still might not resonate with you. Like, to me, this felt more like a team movie than like a solo origin Jaime story, because it was about the entire family, not just necessarily Jaime.
Kind of like a. Hate to bring it, like a Shazam 2 kind of thing, like a Shazam 2 thing where like the whole family is involved and like they're all kicking ass. And I think maybe it's because I really like Blue Beetle, man. Like I like that character a lot.
No,
like,
I understand where you're coming from though.
Because I just wanted more of him, because I also like I've watched Cobra Kai. I think Xolo Maridueña is so charismatic and so good. And he's just so likable. I think I just wanted more of him, and I guess maybe. I think he's going to continue over to James Gunn's universe. I'm hoping, right? Like I'm assuming they're going to.
That's the plan as of right now.
That's the idea.
So I'm assuming we're going to get more of him. So I'll let this slide a bit. It's the first film, and they're definitely going to do more with his character, because I think this could be their answer to a Spider-Man type character, and he could be very likable. And he's very likable if you've seen the animated cartoons that they put out, the Young Justice, even the video game Injustice. His little lines in that. He's a very likable character, and I hope there's more of him. But that was just coming from my standpoint.
Yeah. I guess other things, like Cam said, it's not the most original story out there, but I still enjoyed it as an origin story. You know, people are comparing it to Spider-Man in terms of what he's going to be for the DC universe, but I feel like in terms of his powers and in terms of like his story, I feel like it was more akin to like an Iron Man Venom hybrid, like obviously kind of with basically a symbiote taking over and being like his alter ego. Something that I feel like it's not a Blue Beetle issue. I think it's just every superhero movie since like, I don't know, the last 5 years, honestly, it seems like at this point where there's some scenes where like the visual effects look great. I'm like, wow, that was like a really good shot. Like I think all the suit up scenes were super good. And then there'll be like a scene where I'm like, good Lord, like how did that make it into this movie? That visual effects right there was like so awful. So just like it was just kind of unbalanced for me in that aspect, but I gave it 3 stars, close to a 3.5 star. It's my favorite DCEU movie since the Suicide Squad from, I think 2 years ago now. So it's definitely better than, like, for me at least, like Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Black Adam, all the other stuff we've been getting in the last couple of years. So I had a good time with it. It felt very fresh. I walked away from it enjoying my time. But yeah, I guess at this point we'll kind of break the wall and go into spoilers. So I guess I'll let anyone kick it off. Is there any? Where do we want to start with spoilers? I know, Alex, you were leaning towards talking about.
I got
spoiler.
one thing.
Yeah,
I got one thing. The best line in the movie is when Uncle Rudy comes in, and what's the character that Bruna plays, the girl in the movie? Jenny Cord. And he's like, shouldn't you be like mining off like in some like developed country, some cobalt or something? I was starting crying. I was like, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But as far as spoilers, you said it was getting very dark. The scene at the end with Carapax or whatever, and like the door, you know what I'm talking about, and there was like actually blood in this movie. I was shocked. I was like, that is not blood. I was so caught off guard. It got very dark, and also like the suit up scene. Like I said before, apparently the director wanted Cronenberg inspired. It was very inspired, like very disgusting, gross, very like shocking. I was like, what the heck? Like it looks like the suit's like killing him. It's eating him. I'm like, what the hell? But yeah, there's some very dark moments in this, like very lighthearted movie. I was kind of also the death of his father.
I know that was like brutal, dude.
Caught me off guard again. They also did a Guardians 3 with like, you know, like he's like in the like not even just that, like the whole astral plane thing where he's like, your time, you still have stuff to do here on this planet, blah blah, and like a person's guiding him, kind of like with Rocket. I was like, I know that from somewhere.
Yep.
And I don't know, what are some other spoilers that I think anything you guys got right now? I'm still trying to think of like what
well there was one, like the scene when they kind of lead into the third act where like the kind of final battle is going to happen. They get in a spaceship and they play some Motley Crue, and it's one of those things that like James Gunn clearly didn't invent a needle drop of like a classic rock song in a superhero movie, but it's one of those things that at this point like he kind of owns it, like that's like his thing. So like when that happened, I was like, oh, this feels like a James Gunn movie, which it's not, because like Cam said, it's clearly not. But it's just kind of funny that in my mind, like anytime that there's like a classic rock song in a superhero movie, I'm like, oh, it's a James Gunn thing. But it, you know, they hit the Motley Crue, it slaps every time, just playing some classic rock as people are, you know, suiting up, getting hyped up for a battle, and it just always hits. So that part I was like, okay, I'm rocking with this. And yeah, like you said, the dark moments, they did catch me off guard, because I feel like most of it was like a lighthearted-ish movie, like with the, you know, your younger characters are trying to come into this new world of responsibilities, and then there'll be a scene where someone just gets absolutely murked and blood splatters on a window, and you're like, shit, okay, like what are we going for here? Are we going for super dark or what? But I enjoyed it, like overall. I feel like it never got too crazy dark while also not being too silly and lighthearted. It kind of played that balance pretty well.
The combat was cool too. They had the little Injustice combo, you know, with the of his like thing or whatever. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like how they went out of their way with like a lot of the action sequences. Obviously, like some of it where it takes place in the sky, I think the majority of that final battle is probably majority CGI. But like the hallway fight, the parking lot fight with the first parking lot fight with Carapax, like, dude, those punches just. You could the sound design, like it was all practical. Like it felt you could tell. And I like when someone like Angel and like who directed the film like goes out of their way to like bring things to life instead of just like digitizing it and just like giving more of a workload to like the VFX artists who are already like severely overworked. So also the score was fire. Oh my gosh. In that cosmic realm scene where he like finally accepts his purpose. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed the score, but like it gave me like Tron vibes.
The sense and everything. Yeah, I fully agree.
Yeah, like Stranger Things. Like I don't know, I didn't expect that coming into this movie, but like it fits so well.
Yeah, I think the disappointing thing for how it's just not being like, well, it's being received well. Like I think the reviews in general are like good reviews, but I mean in terms of like people going out to see it, it's a bummer because is this like the greatest superhero movie ever? No, not even close. But like I felt so much of the love from like the entire like production crew, like Angel Manuel Soto, the entire cast. Like you could tell like this is a project that was like a passion project where people really put their heart and soul into it. Like you can actually feel that through the movie, which is something I don't think I've really felt from like a superhero movie in a long time, where you could actually like feel the director and the writer actually caring. Yeah, that's fair, but
yeah.
But yeah. But in terms of like, you could just tell that they all cared about this movie a lot. So it just kind of sucks that it's like not being received the best. And it's coming, I believe it's coming on Struck streaming service in like 3 weeks or something. I think they're like releasing it really early onto Max. So.
No, they haven't announced that. So like how just tweeted that out there and people just started.
Okay, that's fake news.
What is
like,
such a like
fake
news.
news.
Misinformation just gets spread on that app and it spreads like wildfire. Thanks, Elon.
And it's like there's so many people that just want Blue Beetle to go on streaming next week. Like they want it to be a fail. So like that, as Cam said, they can blame James Gunn. They could blame this, that, DC, another failure. For I guess there's whether or not you're a fan of Snyder, like there's a lot of people that just like wanted to fail.
That comment, I saw someone say like, "Oh yeah, don't go woke, blah blah blah." This is the call. I'm like,
as if
I lose my head a bit because like
this year.
There's a lot of other factors playing into this, like why, like it's also coming out during like the writers and actors are on strike, dessert like that, like you know what I mean? And people saying stupid, like if anyone says woke in an argument, I automatically can't take them serious. Like as if Barbie didn't cross $1 billion and that's deemed quote unquote woke. Like grow up, please. I'm sorry, that was a whole little. I was gonna go into a rant, I'm gonna stop myself, but that just angered me. I'm like, the world is a whole diverse globe. It's not just one person or one type of people. Like.
It's I think there are a lot of factors. First off, this was originally supposed to be an HBO Max release, like we've said. This is a dying franchise, or like people don't know if this is like a part of this franchise or the next one. That's a big one. And then on top of that, I don't think Blue Beetle is a household name yet. He like when we first talked about this, Seth, Tyler, and George even like didn't really know who Blue Beetle was. The only reason I truly know who he is because I'm a big fan of Young Justice and watch that. I've watched that a couple times. It's not a household name, and I don't think you can throw out. You're not like the superhero genre right now is not getting good graces with the general population in the sense that you can throw out a random character and it'll do $1 billion. Whereas like the MCU, when they bring in, fucking Ant-Man, it's going to do $1 billion, or Captain Marvel is going to do $1 billion because the last 12 movies have just been banger after banger. DC doesn't have that good grace right now. Especially after the Flash. The Flash is like the highest losing movie of all time at this point. Which I don't think it's that bad by any means, but people have issues with the casting of that. And so like coming out right after that movie is not going to be great. And that movie also came out 2 months ago. It's whether you want to admit it or not, superhero fatigue is setting in for a good amount of people, I would say. I think we got to get back to, I'm fine with fucking 12 superheroes movies in a year, but I think like when you have one every single month, they're not all going to be bangers. But a movie like this is way better than the reception it's getting. I think it should not have like made $40 million on its opening weekend or 20, whatever. What did it make? Does anyone know off the top of their head?
25 is the number in my head, but that might just be domestic. I'm not sure.
Could be.
I made 25
right now,
domestic.
what is it at 80? I forget.
It's at like the in between 60 and 70 right now.
It's just like
like so I think got a $100 million budget, which it'll probably just hit that, but with marketing, it'll probably end up being a loss. Also, with like obviously the writers and actors strike going on right now, there are probably less people going to movies. Just for that, there's a lot of factors to this, but let me tell you what's not a factor. Woke media, like it's not. It's just not. So yeah.
Once again, Barbie, $1 billion.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have to say anything else. Like that is literally like their the antithesis of their like evil like woke agenda. Like no, stop that stupid argument. It's stupid. It's dumb.
Did we talk post-credit scene / Ted Cord?
No.
Oh, Jason
Sudeikis. Shout out Ted Lasso. Just be the exact same character, but now you're Ted Cord. Love Jason Sudeikis.
Is it confirmed? Is that like a thing that they were going for?
No,
the director, he did say that he wanted Jason as like Ted. Like that's his number one choice.
which that's too canny of like a picture to not be Jason.
Yeah, I saw the
this
picture.
This dude drew Jason Sudeikis or had an artist draw it. Jason Sudeikis was like, if we get him, we get him. Like, let's shoot our shot right here.
They should just do that in everything. Just shoot your shot and just do that. Yeah.
And I remember when you guys mentioned Motley Crue, like that was coming from his ship. So that might have been a little insight on like the vibe of Ted Cord and like the type of music he would play.
Okay. I like that. The post-credit scene was like Ted Cord like is not dead, right? He's in the computer. He's like, hello, is anyone there? Who turned on my computer? That sort of thing. That voice obviously was not Jason Sudeikis, but you can change the voice however you want. No one saw a face or anything, so you can change the voice. And then the second post-credit scene was like a stop motion movie they were watching during the movie, right? People were all up in arms as if like post-credit scenes have to be like a third movie attached to this movie. Like it's just a fucking stop motion movie. It's not gonna.
Marvel's done that so many times, or like even like trolled at the end with the Ferris Bueller's I think day off. Like
exactly.
It happens all the time.
Exactly. I don't know if there's anything else to spoil, but that's kind of the movie in a nutshell.
Yeah, the one thing I want to leave the Blue Beetle conversation off on is, where do you guys have this? Like, you don't have to say the exact number, but about where do you place this in your DCEU ranking? So I guess I'll start off while you think about it. For me, it's about tied with Birds of Prey. So it's sitting at number 6 for me in the DCEU. The only ones I have above it is Birds of Prey, the first Shazam, the Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, the first one, and Man of Steel. So I have it right at 6. It's right around Birds of Prey, a little.
No ZSJL.
I don't count that as DCEU because it's not part of the universe.
Well, I mean, like, we're not counting the Justice League, right?
No, that is part of the DCEU.
Yeah, that is.
Justice League is part of it.
That didn't exist in my book. I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's last place to me. But I have it right around Birds of Prey.
Oh yeah, I have my letterboxd right here. I have the films I have ahead of it. I feel so. I have it so.
I think I have this at
you guys. I have it. Listen, I'm not the biggest on this movie compared to other people. I do like it.
Do you have it above Shazam: Fury of the Gods?
Yeah, and Black Adam.
Okay,
I have
valid.
The films I have. Birds of Prey. I like Birds of Prey a lot, but
I do too.
I have Wonder Woman ahead of it. I have Shazam. I have Man of Steel. I have Flash. I have Aquaman. I love Aquaman. Aquaman's badass.
Oh shoot!
James Wan cooked up something special. BVS masterpiece. And then you're not counting the Zack Snyder Justice League, but I am. And then the Suicide Squad I have ahead of it.
I think
it's the thing of like, if this film came out like earlier, or at least during the peak MCU, like before Endgame and stuff like that, dude, this movie would have done numbers. I think. I think it's just a circumstance of like, now like we are post Endgame, people are starting to, I guess, fatigue is setting in. But if this film came out in like the 2000s, like it would have banged. If you've seen Max Steel, this thing is like Max. It would have banged. I'm telling you.
Max Steel's ass crack.
But like this is very Max Steel. I mean, that's the vibes I got. It would have banged.
Somebody get this guy. Supes, what's your ranking?
Honestly, I just put together a quick list. I think I got it at number 5 on my DCEU ranking. The only movies I have above it are the Suicide Squad. I included the Snyder Cut in there, but you guys can leave that on or take it off. Then you got BVS and then Man of Steel.
Really?
Big Snyder.
Big Snyder guy. So I go
BVS is peak, so W.
The Suicide Squad is the best DCEU movie. Everyone agree? That's number 1. No,
I have it.
Man of Steel, dude.
I have it.
I'm not mad at that. Like, I'm not.
I agree with you.
The Suicide Squad, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman. If we're going ZSJL, Shazam, and then this for me. So 6.
Okay.
If we're counting Zack Snyder.
Aquaman.
Oh, Aquaman is above that.
I was about to say. I was like, don't.
My bad. I might drop Shazam. I don't know. Shazam was fine.
Shazam, I don't care.
I haven't watched Shazam in so long.
Blue Beetle might go up on a rewatch just because I don't care for Shazam. Like, I really don't like. I don't care.
Also, Zachary Levi is like making odd comments.
Yeah, he's
like I'd kiss Florence Pugh. Like, if you guys wanted to cast. If you guys wanted to cast me as Flynn Rider in Tangled, I'd kiss Florence Pugh, guys. It's like, yeah, me too, man. Like,
he's the king of wood right now on Twitter himself.
He is. He's like wood.
You want Florence Pugh in the movie? Yeah, I would.
Wood. Okay.
All right, we'll wrap up our Blue Beetle discussion there. So I think we kind of all are similar in a consensus that it's definitely a more middle of the pack, maybe upper middle of the pack DCEU movie, but it's not the best, but it's certainly far from the worst we've seen from the DCEU.